All right, folks, welcome in. This is Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And, of course, the Yankees won. We're back in the win column, like staying in the win column, not just one win. And because I didn't want to see that, Gary. I did not want to see another one of those patterns we saw earlier in the year in the month of April. They did not have a good April. I think people forget that because they got off to such a hot start, like at the end of March. But April wasn't that great. They couldn't sustain any win streaks. So it was like you win one, then you lose one, then you win one, and you lose one. You lose two, you win two. It's like, no. You want to build these win streaks. So, look, I am going to tell you right now, this was kind of a boring game. But for people that don't, they haven't gotten the message yet from the Yankees, they are trying to win boring. That's how they're trying to win games. They are not making mistakes in the field, not that often anyway, and they're finding themselves in every single game just about down the stretch. So today, I thought Bybee was so good, and the fact that he doesn't come away with a win today, that has to sting. That stings the Guardians, and I just have to give a lot of credit to Jazz Chisholm, who, it's one thing, we talked about this, I was optimistic because the way he's swinging the bat in his rehab assignment. It's one thing to swing the bat against AAA, AA, what have you. But when you come up to the big leagues after going through that, it's a humbling process. Like, you weren't sent down, but you kind of have to go back to your roots. Your dad went through that, like you have said before. And it is kind of a little humbling, but he came back up, and Jazz looks really good. I mean, the defense at third, the hitting. So, Gary, we're going to start off with Jazz Chisholm here. What were your thoughts on this game? But more importantly, what were your thoughts on Jazz in his return?
I thought, obviously, he hits the home run. It's what people want to talk about. It felt big in the moment, but also the speed, right? Like, DJ LeMahieu lines the ball to right field. We've talked about that exit velo, his launch angle, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in these boring games, sometimes speed changes the game, right? It just does. You saw it on the other end with Jose Ramirez. His speed had somewhat of a difference as well, but I guess for me, Jazz Chisholm, this is what he has to do to help win. He's got pop. The swing can't look like a Joey Gallo-esque swing where you watch a swing and say, oh, that's a power hitter. This is a guy who must be hitting fifth, right? He must be just trying to clear the bases. He's the style of hitter who will strike out 3 times and then get you in the fourth at bat. That's not who Jazz Chisholm should be. Jazz should be a guy that's frequently on base, and it's okay, right? You have a day or two where you don't, but it's about what you're attempting to do. I think that's my problem with Jazz. The level of consistency, what he is attempting to do for this team is just too much. So you saw it today. He obviously gets injured. We don't want to see that, but he finally gets healthy. They send him to the minors, rehab assignment. Jake, you told me, you said maybe this will actually benefit him. Like, we don't want to root for injuries, but maybe he goes down there and he gets reacclimated to what his actual role is. And it seems like Jazz showed up. Even that home run, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but that was a shorter swing. And it was just one swing. It's a short sample size. I don't want to read too much into it because tomorrow it could look totally different. Yeah. But having said that, his at-bats today, they look better, more controlled. And I have a feeling if that in itself, in the attempt of what he's trying to do, stays more consistent, we can win some ugly games. This was a boring baseball game. Like, Carlos Rodon goes 7 full, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 8 Ks, ERA 2.49. Tanner Bybee pretty much matched that till the 5th and 7th where he got touched up, right? But yeah, this game was controlled by the arms. It was boring. It's a boring baseball game. A lot of balls just beat into the ground, killing worms. But to win these games, and we really care about winning these games, you have to be able to have your speed guys make a difference, and Jazz made that difference.
Yeah, no, he absolutely did. I love that you brought up the LeMahieu thing. That's just like a piece of what he can do. And you see the speed, it's effortless. So that's a 2-out RBI. That ends up being the difference in winning and losing. That's a huge play. I actually got to say, and I saw a comment, I actually see a super chat on it, I believe. Maybe
we can throw it up out of order. We'll go back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, appreciate you, Apex. Thank you for the 4 to 6 weeks of Williams' blood pressure. Yeah, we'll get into that. Don't you worry. We'll touch on this. I want to get to Wildman Samurai here. Thank you for the 10. Sup, guys? I actually like this Yankees team better than the one last year. This is exactly where I was going with this. Once they get healthy, I think they can make some noise in the playoffs. Go Yankees, and this one's for Jake, LFG Rams. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Wildman.
Here's why I wanted to bring this up, because this is exactly what I felt watching this. I felt like there's still a possibility DJ LeMahieu can be a contributor for this team. Last year, you didn't want him anywhere near a diamond. You just, no. Like, I don't want you near the actual diamond, like the stone. Like, I didn't want to see you. This year, you saw LeMahieu go 4 for 5, has an off day on Monday, follows it up, has a huge hit in this game that ultimately could have been, whatever way you want to call it, the deciding factor. You look at Jazz Chisholm. This is somebody that really showed you a lot of power early on in the year, but with the expense of, he was essentially cashing in all of that contact, all of what makes him really dangerous. Because keep in mind, when you are Jazz Chisholm and you're hitting home runs, that's fun, but that's not really utilizing your athleticism. We're not getting to see you on the base paths. Like, that's just, again, you would take the home run any day, but it's one of those players where I don't need you to swing for the fences. Like, I need Stanton to swing for the fences because he's not running well on the base paths, right? But a Jazz, he can benefit in multiple ways, whether he's on base, at first, second, whatever. That speed is always going to be in the back of the mind of a pitcher, of a catcher. And, now you can have just a simple line drive and he's scoring as soon as the thing falls. So, with that said, this team is so much more entertaining than last year's team. And right now, like, they've had quite a few games where they win 3-2. It's weird. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I want to be honest here. They are not scoring as much as you would think. You look at the scoring, and they lead the AL, but they lead the AL because they had those really lopsided games against Milwaukee, right? And some of the blowouts that they had this year, and they padded that. Nothing against that, but we got to be honest with ourselves. For the most part, this is the Yankee team that we've been seeing consistently. They're
higher
scoring,
baseline.
Yeah, like they'll score 5 runs, but they're not a team that's going to be, and it's funny to say that because they hit like 8 home runs in a game to start the year, but they're not a team that I'm looking at to score 8, 9, 10 runs a game. Like, they're just not. They're not the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's where star power comes in. Like, when the Dodgers come up to the plate, and you mentioned this just before we went live, you'll see a Freddie Freeman walk up to the plate, and you're like, all right, action clearly can happen here. It doesn't matter who they're facing. It could be Weaver. It could be anybody. Anyone in our rotation. It's not opportunistic for us. As soon as Freeman walks up there, Ohtani, same deal. Mookie Betts, we didn't see him in the series. Same deal. So that's sort of where the Yankees are. It seems like we make a lot of quality at-bats throughout, but our star power isn't necessarily there. So what Wildman's really getting at here is he says once we get healthy, and when we get healthy, you get a Stanton back. That's some of the sexy stuff where you hit home runs.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can put up a crooked number. All that is super valuable. And when those type of bats get going, you see what it looks like in October, but also some of the additions we made is to do the garbage type stuff. The going first to third. Having a single from DJ LeMahieu today not be a station-to-station event where you got a guy at second base, that line drives in right, we're going, is it going to fall? It does fall. And then you see some station-to-station guy jog over to third base and stop because he cannot run. Every single time. We've watched it. You guys have watched it.
They've lost games because of that.
And they lose games because of it, and everyone says, well, why are they trying to hit home runs? Well, the answer to why is because we didn't have the personnel to score from second base. So why wouldn't you try to hit home runs if the guy won't score from second on a single? Why? So now that we have that personnel, I think we see a different style of offense. Sometimes you look up and say, we won 3-2, but it felt a little underwhelming offensively. So what? So what? Because the inverse of that is the Yankees attempting to play a game like this with poor personnel to play this style of game. And you know what this game would have been? It would have been probably a Jazz Chisholm solo jack or whoever hitting a solo jack. Let's just call him Joey Gallo. They hit a homer and you lose this game 2-1. And you say, well, we were right there. We had the tying run at first, and we don't score that run because we're not great really from behind in the ninth inning. That's how the Yankees used to play these games. So we can say they're boring. They are. But we look up, we'll forget about this game a week from now. We'll forget about this game probably tomorrow. And all that matters is that this style, you won't prolong any losing streaks. That's the bright side to this. And then obviously, I do want to get into this Devin Williams situation because his performance also in Apex, we really appreciate the super with the 2. It says 4 to 6 weeks of Devin Williams blood pressure. So his performance is also the only way, if he performs well, it's the only way we're going to go on any type of winning streaks. He's going to be pitching a lot of games with Luke Weaver out, who's expected to miss, they say 4 to 6 weeks. Is that correct, Jake?
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. They were getting a second opinion. I know Boone said that. I'm not confident.
Yeah, so you just make the assumption it'll be a 6-week event. We'll see in a month and a half. Devin Williams is your closer for the foreseeable future. And at best, if you don't like this, and Baseball Savant says one thing, is long-term Savant says he should be wildly consistent. He should be missing bats with the best of them. But you guys are watching the same Devin Williams I'm watching. I'm not some wizard here showing you something. I'm not reading a spell. It's obvious on the screen that contact's being made against our closer in Devin Williams. That pitch, he's essentially a 2-pitch pitcher. The broadcast was describing him, for those of you who watched today, is that he needs to out-sequence and fool the hitter. Okay, he showed him a fastball there. He's probably trying to go back to the changeup. Hey, what would you throw here? I'd probably go back-to-back changeups. They're essentially trying to get us to think sequencing. And that goes to show you, when you don't have the stuff, you don't have 96, 97 in the tank, you don't have some devastating slider you can go to, well, there's a lot of contact to be made. So, yeah, it's very difficult to watch a pitcher who's just not missing bats to the level you need him to miss bats. And unfortunately, it seems like we're sort of waiting in the ninth inning for guys to be on base and us to lead by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up trading for somebody. I do. I think that they like Williams, and I think they'll probably keep him in that 8th inning role, but I think this kind of fast tracks a potential trade for a closer, whether that's Bednar or, there's a player that I actually really like, and since we have Savant here, I'm going to bring him up. I think
what are you trading a player for? So if you really think about it, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. So let's just say, right, you bring in this player, okay?
Yeah.
If you trade for a player, by the time Luke Weaver's ready, it's going to be the deadline. So if you have your closer back, they're going to tell us, well, we got our closer. Luke Weaver's back. He's healthy. All right. Now, do the Yankees perceive it as, well, Cruz is our 7th inning guy, right? Leiter Jr., we don't need to trade for a guy. That's what they very well may tell us, but it shows you the volatility of this bullpen. If Luke Weaver can't pitch, it's just a free-for-all. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, I think it would make sense to consider going out and getting a guy like Clevenger, because I think for me, the most important thing, like we just talked about off air, Devin Williams has incredible stuff. He does. He does. The analytics shows it. But the problem is, like you mentioned, he doesn't locate well. He's consistent as hell. The problem is, and I was saying this, you could argue he, before this year, was the most consistent pitcher, one of the most consistent pitchers in all of baseball, regardless of starter, closer, reliever, whatever. But during that consistency, Gary, there is a common thing here. And when you look at it, it's very simple.
Please point that out.
Can you guys,
glaring.
I want you to follow this right here.
Wasn't bad in 2020.
But look at this.
Oh, boy.
The walk percentage. Now, that's not good to be in the blue. I know red means stop, but not in Savant. Red means
And there's
go.
some anomalies. Occasionally, if you look at a pitcher, their Baseball Savant will just go ice cold in a given season. They just, for whatever reason, they couldn't find their fastball for a month and a half. You look up and you're at the bottom of the league. No, Jake, what you're pointing out is consistent. Like, that is what's consistent about his game.
Yeah.
He's not going to be where he wants to be in the strike zone. So when you're pitching the ninth inning, Your analytics can look however you want, but if you can't put the ball where you need to put it in the ninth at Yankee Stadium in pinstripes, I don't know, Jake.
I also have a theory, and I'm not trying to shit on the guy that I think very highly of in Matt Blake, but I have a theory he's better with like lesser known talent.
What do you mean by that? Like,
So,
you mean when there's
like-
expectations for a player, they just...
So I feel like
Okay.
they probably worked with Devin Williams and did what they wanted to with him.
Sure.
You watch here, it says 2 pitches. He had 4 to start, right?
Okay.
Then he goes down to 3, and he's going to have
This is
3 his whole career, essentially,
Yes.
until he goes to the Yankees. Well,
Doesn't it say
the cutter back.
slider 3%, 1%? So he's not even touching that pitch, really.
Yeah, but then he just absolutely gets rid of it. Also, this is interesting. The 4-seam fastball was used more than anything in 2024. His numbers were still great. His analytics were great. His numbers were still great. He had the injury.
Walk rate's still terrible.
Yeah, walk rate's still terrible.
How?
Then he drops the 4-seamer, goes back to the changeup really exclusively, gets rid of any chance of there being another pitch. See, that's where I don't agree with people. Well, he only throws it 3% of the time. Yes, but it's on video. It's out there. There's a resume. Now I only have to guess 2 pitches. That's what I have to do. And the thing is, as you've brought up, this early in the year, I mean, June, it's still not super warm over here, Gary. I'm in New York. It's not. So, this time in the year, he doesn't do well, right? He doesn't have a great track record in the first half of the season. Now, what I'll say is this. I don't necessarily think the cutter slider, getting rid of that, is the reason he's struggling. But what I'm saying is, how many times has Matt Blake gone to the drawing board and been like, oh, we want you to start using this pitch more. We want you to start using this pitch more. And getting the most out of these guys. I feel like there's either, on one side, it's either they tried to mess around with Devin Williams and change something that was already working and have created a problem. Or, because I don't think it's mental, Gary. I don't. Or, I think something needs to be done and they've caught on to his, just his repertoire. And now I think Matt Blake needs to go under the hood and be like, all right, what's wrong with this guy? Because you just saw, I mean, this is knockdown, drag out stuff once you hit 2020 and it goes on. You see the pattern, So it's like, where does that go? And you can't tell me the Brewers have a better pitching coach. You can't tell me they're a better organization. It's just no. So where does that go where he does that from 2019 to 2024? And then this isn't horrible, but this isn't like him.
Well, you mentioned Matt Blake, though, in that maybe he does better with a reclamation project. Maybe someone who has no expectations of what it is they're going to be using me for when I get there. Like, Cruz didn't come here with expectations. Like, here's how I do stuff, and we're going to do it my way. Like, no, he's a project that they clearly saw a splitter, right? They saw the pitch that they identified. Okay, great. Now you walk through the door, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do, and you have no long-term data to suggest that you should do it any other way. And then he does it our way, and it works. And mind you, I want to say something, though, to kind of go the opposite direction of this, because that player for me is Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon showed up to the Yankees, had a ton of expectations, right? I believe he won a Cy Young at one point, right, with Chicago. Now, he signed a $180+ million contract, right? And mind you, I was very critical of this contract to start this season. I mentioned he needs to be far more consistent in general for us to consider this worth the money. Now, Carlos Rodon easily can say, I make $25 to $30 million a year. Matt Blake, you don't get to tell me anything. I know how I'm doing this. I know what I'm doing. I know I had a bad year last year. I'm going to figure it out because I'm Carlos Rodon. And Aaron Boone talked about the fact that he was a 2-pitch pitcher. That's all he threw. Fastball, slider, 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 fastball, slider. And that's what you saw. So all of a sudden Matt Blake worked with a pitcher by the name of Carlos Rodon, who had every reason to not be coachable. And what do you start seeing? You start seeing sinkers, right? You start seeing, instead of just forcing fastballs up and then a chase slider, you start seeing the sinker. You start seeing first pitch sliders. You start seeing changeups. You start seeing different mix of pitches. So all of a sudden, Carlos Rodon really identified how he's going to go about pitching here, which is that I'm not just going to throw. I'm going to do things maybe Matt Blake's way, and it's working. So I'm not here to tell you guys that Devin Williams is just doing things his way. I don't believe that. I just don't. The analytics show long-term, he doesn't work around the strike zone. Well, you know what? When you don't work around the strike zone and you've got 2 pitches, I think it's a matter of time in this sport, the hardest sport to play in the world. You're not going to last very long. These are relievers. So you maybe need some type of wrinkle to get around. And he doesn't have that right now. So I'm hopeful that he can pitch for this team. But Kyle here with the super, we really appreciate that, Kyle with the 2, says who else can close? William isn't it. Well, the Yankees do need to figure out somebody who is around the strike zone. Jake, by the way, just to be consistent, my conclusion here, you can't close games. You can't close games consistently for 10, 15 years for a team when you can't be around the zone. I mentioned Cruz might be a problem in the 9th inning because he can't be around the zone. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell him. I don't. I understand your concern, and he's throwing too many changeups, and maybe that's getting out of whack. I don't know. But all I know is when the ball hits the barrel as often as it is, and there's contact out to outfielders as much as there is, I'm raised for concern. I am.
I think that's definitely fair. Wanted to give a hat tip to Matt Blake because if you notice throughout, the constant, this little slideshow, I don't even know what to call it. It's going through the years. He starts off as a sinker ball pitcher early on in his career, and then he gets rid of the sinker entirely. And Matt Blake brought back this year. And shocker, these are the best numbers he's had since that year that you were talking about. So. Yeah, I think Matt Blake is really good. Obviously, I think he's amazing. But I feel like there could be more there with Devin Williams. I feel like you need to figure something out because it's just not working. Like you can say, oh yeah, well, it works in the 8th inning. Well, it needs to work in the 9th inning. And again, I don't believe it's mental. I don't. Because you have a different approach in the 8th than you do in the 9th. The 9th, it's last licks.
Last licks. So, you're talking about the hitters. So it's
yes. So
okay,
so you're more aggressive. So he's going against more aggressive hitters, and you would think with the whiff, 95 percentile whiff, right? You would think he'd be getting more missed bats, as you brought up off air to me, but he's not. And like you said, he's giving up the solid hard contact. And, obviously it doesn't show that. I mean, he's in the 72nd percentile.
I have a huge question for you, though, because you're mentioning whiff rate. You see the 95%. In my opinion, that tells you right there, guys, in terms of pitch-to-pitch basis, 0-0 count. Someone swings, 95% of the league. That's how much better he is than the average pitcher at getting a swing and a miss. But here's my problem. What does it look like with 2 strikes? That's my question. So these numbers of what someone's ability, to acquire a swing and miss, it doesn't translate for him, at least in my opinion, with 2 strikes. Because what I see are a lot of foul balls. A lot of foul balls. And some of the game's best pitchers, and I understand that there's going to be great at bats. I mean, these professional hitters. But when you see a guy like Carlos Santana just spoiling pitch after pitch after pitch, and just really having no problem doing so. And then he gets a fastball that literally would have hit the umpire in the shoulder had he not swung. And he's still just able to get to the ball. It kind of goes to show you back what you said. You got 2 pitches and none of them are overwhelming with 2 strikes. I can put the ball in play. And it seems like hitters know, yeah, I may whiff and get fooled on an 0-0 changeup. It's really a screwball. But with 2 strikes, does Devin Williams have the stuff to get me to swing and miss? I don't see that personally. I think Devin Williams has a really good changeup. He's very comfortable just throwing for a ball and hoping you get a chase. right? With 3 balls. He's okay walking you. And I'm not sure if that mentality is okay in the 9th inning. I'm cool with it in the 7th. Like, am I comfortable? No. But here at Yankee Stadium, it's the most nerve-wracking it's the most nerve-wracking situation you can find yourself in. You're talking about pitching for the Yankees. You're pitching the 9th inning, and your big problem as a closer in a 1-run lead is, I don't really have a ton of control. Well, then how comfortable did you guys expect to be?
Well, and isn't it funny, though? Because this is ultimately why they didn't go after Tanner Scott. This is the exact reason, is because he walks so many batters. Here's the thing, though. You know how we've talked about it? Like, he doesn't throw, like, just straight gas for fastballs.
Yeah, it's 94. Honestly, it's probably 92 up to 94.
Yeah, well, guess what? That looks like 98, 99 to a hitter. You know why? Because you know what extension means? That's the release point.
Yeah, I would assume Aroldis Chapman's right up there as well. I would guess Aroldis Chapman's probably like 96, 95th percentile.
I got to
pull that up. I'm going to guess. It could be wrong.
Which means if Aroldis Chapman's throwing 104, it looks like 110.
Yeah, he just lets go of the ball. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Come on. And it's obvious when you do watch him. Okay, there's extension there. But to your point, his 92 to 94, 95 probably plays like 96, 97. But I'm watching what I'm watching. I'm seeing a lot of foul balls. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I feel like in 2-2
that's
counts,
why I don't understand it. Because you're right. Like what you're watching is what we're all seeing. But this is what I don't get.
You feel like he should be blowing away hitters with the 94 because of that.
His whiff rate is 95 percentile. His K rate is 86 percentile. Typically, you want them kind of on the same plane. But what it tells me is he's getting unnecessary swing and misses. He's going after the swing and the miss to start the at-bat. It's probably why he doesn't get too many first pitch strikes, because he tries to throw that. Like, why are you going out of your way to throw that first pitch, like, changeup? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's intended to be nasty. Like he's trying to throw a nasty 0-0 pitch. We talked about this with Garrett Cole. When Garrett Cole was struggling, and there were portions of his Yankees career where he had a 2-3 week stretch, he was not getting outs. And it always went back to the fact that Garrett Cole would get behind the mic and he said, I'm being too careful at the beginning of counts. I'm trying to throw my A pitch, 0-0, 1-0. I'm trying to throw a nasty slider on the corner when that's not what is necessary. It's not the job. And so really, the first 2 strikes, especially if you're trying to miss a bat, you're just trying to get those strikes any means necessary. You should be around the zone. But this is, I guess, the bad part about it. Devin Williams has shown at no point of his career that's how he's going to go about it. So that's what should worry a lot of people. I do want to get to a couple of other super chats here. I want to move this conversation probably back to Jazz here. I want to get to this. Apex with the super, with the 5. He says, are we keeping Jazz at third? I think this is interesting because it's really talking about the deadline here, because they want a better second baseman at the deadline. DJ will be benched afterwards, and they don't want to move Jazz twice. So, Jake, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't really mind moving Jazz another time if need be. I think this move was just the Yankees saying, we don't like what we've got in the third base room. I genuinely think Peraza, you can mention some of the things he does well. I think he was pretty good defensively, honestly. I was pleased. But the bat's not there. B-Boss was just sent back down just now. They don't like the bat. Jake, you don't like the bat. And we like the at-bats, but you can't play in the big leagues for the Yankees because you take good at-bats. You got to hit. So
if this was like a wild card team, okay.
Come on.
But this team was just in the World Series.
Yeah, this isn't the Royals competing for a wild card. This is the Yankees. Yeah. You got to hit, and those guys don't hit. So, no, Apex, I think it's as simple as, who do you like at third base? And the answer is probably short, right? The list is probably short for most of us of who you'd like to play. Jazz is the best third baseman we've got on this team.
Yeah, he's also the best second baseman. Jazz is, I mean, it's basically what I said before the season started. Jazz Chisholm, playing him at second, like I understood it, but I did say before the season started it was wasteful. You have crazy athleticism, just the reaction, and then the arm strength. Why do I want him at second? I want him at third.
Well, I'd be okay with it given we had a third baseman that we loved. But at no point did the Yankees run out of third baseman where we're like, cornerstone. Boom. Hitting fifth, third.
No, definitely. But I'm saying, like, I think Jazz can be a top 5 third baseman in the league. Like, I have no doubt about it.
Is the list that short?
I mean, I really, when I watch him, I'm like, I already think he can be elite at that position.
He definitely has the skill set. I see what you're saying. I hesitate to say that just because he hasn't shown me anything for an extended period of time. What he did with the Yankees last year, where he gives you 280 plus, so you're getting contact. The speed now matters. You're getting contact, more hits, right? He's never walked a ton. Never. His on bases are hovering around 320. That needs to improve. But what he's doing over there at third, he's good. He is really good. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm like, I show up to the yard, I'm like, oh, he's one of the top third basemen in the game. I don't perceive that, but it's just because of what he's done with the bat this season over the course of a while now. And then, of course, he does struggle with injuries, and I really can't call you a top anything if you don't play consistently. So that's my biggest question mark for Jazz.
You know what's funny about Jazz? He got off to such a bad start, right?
Yeah,
but he
terrible.
has the home runs, so the home runs are going to make his stuff look good. But also, like, we've been talking about Austin Wells for a while, and he's around 213 right now. His on-base percentage at no point this year has been above 300. Did you know Jazz Chisholm has a 313 on-base percentage despite how bad he started?
That's uncharacteristic. By the way, you can get Devin Williams off my screen. I don't even want to see him again.
Oh,
I don't even want to see
Let's
Devin
look at
Williams.
Jazz. Where's
yeah,
Jazz?
with all due respect, Devin, I don't want to see you.
Yeah, you see the barrel percentage. You see the range. It's funny, the arm strength. Like, what are we talking about here?
This dude is like the epitome of Super Smash Bros. He's like that hammer, that do 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 do, and if he's gonna miss the whole time. And it was always the worst player in Super Smash Bros. That got the hammer every time. It was the player who was losing, and then all of a sudden they give you the hammer, you get touched, and it just leaves the stadium.
Yeah, it's true.
That's how he plays.
I want to see the on-base percentage creep up, but OPS-wise, so 761 in 2023, 760 last year, and 757 right now. He is essentially what he is. Like, if he improves, which I believe he will, like, I think Jazz can build off this. I think he can break out, which, of course, the title of the episode was, is Jazz Chisholm ready to break out now? I do believe so, because I think so much of Jazz's issues, as I said, was mental. He was barking at the umpire. I didn't see him once caring about any call today. You know what I mean?
I would like that to, yeah, it was almost feeling NBA-esque. You go to an NBA game or you turn it on, and there's like LeBron complaining
or whatever.
It's all the players. That's all they do is complain. It's not just LeBron. It's everybody. They all complain on every call.
I know.
So it's like Jazz, and I've actually said this for a while, and this is with all due respect to Jazz Chisholm. He's not even close to good enough at baseball yet or accomplished enough to complain about the umpires as much as he was earlier this season. You can't hit 180 and turn around to the umpire and be like, hey, man, do your job better. It's like, hey, do your job. How about that? He wasn't doing his job. So we know, I think we both know here, our audience knows this isn't a talent thing. Jazz Chisholm has to, A, stay on the field, be out there consistent, show up to work, right? This is your job. You're paid a lot of money to do that. And then while you're at that, play the style that we know physically you should be playing. Contact should be a part of his game. You mentioned the on-base percentage. That was surprising to me. I wouldn't have known that, but...
That's why I brought it up, because it's surprising to me too, and I knew our audience would like to know that. But yeah, I'm pretty high on Jazz Chisholm coming off this injury. I think he needed it. You could tell. And the problem is, Boone even said it. I'm not going to not play one of my best fielders. He does the same thing with Volpe. That's the problem. When Volpe's struggling, you know Volpe's not coming out of the lineup. There's no day off. That's why the best thing for Volpe was to get hurt. Think about that. And now, look, he's not amazing. He's not. But he's hitting 321 on base. He has a 439 slugging. He has a 241 batting average. He's a shortstop at the bottom of the order, and he has an above average OPS. I mean, really, that's what Volpe is right now. Can he be better? Sure. But right now, that's what he is, and that's fine. You're not going to get too much complaining out of me. Now that we know, like, this is who he is, okay. He was hitting literally 7th today, Gary. By the way, what were your thoughts on this lineup? Because I like Boone, but what in God's creation are you thinking putting Goldschmidt as the 5th hitter? Are we out of our minds? I didn't understand that at all.
Who hit 4th today?
Bellinger. It was Grisham, Rice, Judge, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Chisholm, Volpe, Escara, LeMahieu. I'll go on record saying I think LeMahieu should lead off. I 100% believe that.
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't even know what to think of our lineup, but I've been saying I don't really care what the lineup is. I just want the best 9 out there. It's been my biggest concern. It's always been my biggest concern. I literally celebrated this morning when I saw Ben Rice playing. And I know he didn't do a ton today, but when I see him play, just makes sense of who plays.
Yeah. He crushed it today with the exit velo. I think he had 3 in a row that were over 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
He hits the ball so freaking hard. I don't understand it.
I mean, good for him, but I just want the best players to play. I don't care where they play. After the deadline, do I want to see DJ LeMahieu anywhere near the field? No. And when people hear this, they think, what do you got a bone to pick with this player? This isn't personal. This is sports. I just want the Yankees to have a better option. And when they have a better option, just throw them in the lineup. I don't care if you hit them 5th. I know last year we were like, put Volpe lead off. It'll unlock all this stuff. It'll get Soto. He's going to be throwing, right? He can't throw behind a hitter. He'll get to second base. Judge is going to come up with all these guys, speed and scoring position. It makes no difference. Just have the best players out there. And the better the hitter, the further up the lineup, most likely. But, yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I probably had more of a problem with Luke Weaver pitching in an 18-2 baseball game the other day, which obviously he ends up getting hurt. Yeah, it's tomfoolery. It's ridiculous. Obviously, I mean, we literally saw Devin Williams. It should have been Yes, we did. Okay. But I did want to throw one of the super chats out there. Did you want to read this one? Go ahead.
Yeah, Ed, we appreciate you. Gorgeous night at Stadium. Can we discuss the dumbassery of the Judge attempt with the lefty killer Goldschmidt on deck and potential for 2 on 1 out? Yeah, I didn't get that. Every time
almost felt like Judge thought he was invisible.
Every time I watch Judge, he's getting picked off or he's getting caught stealing. He's got 3 caught stealing. I think he's had 5 stolen bases.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like when he's running, it doesn't feel like a stolen base attempt. It feels like a hit and run. The ball needs to be put in play.
Yep. And if it's not, you just chalk it up as a loss, I guess.
Yeah, it was almost when he slid into second, it was like I gave up. I'm out.
Well, but it's the one the other night when he slid into second against the Dodgers. I told you, I was like, I think he was safe. And he's just like, I don't even care. I'm just running.
Yeah, this isn't my game. Ohtani does this. This is not me. So I did want to talk about something that I felt was far more important. And this is what we did with the roster. Okay. Yes. Now, mind you, Luke Weaver gets hurt. Okay. And we're probably sitting here. Jazz Chisholm is back. And Williams is now your closer. So you're thinking, okay, well, who's going to be off this roster? Certainly, it should be Pablo Reyes. Like, you would think that he doesn't have a role in really any situation. Lefty up there pitching, righty up there pitching, defensive, right? You're like defensive replacement late in games, injuries to infielders. Yorbeat Bivas, or not Yorbeat. Wasn't Yorbeat sent down today?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, which, by the way, we don't think he really should be on the roster either.
No.
But
And
Pablo
it's good for
Reyes,
him because I want him to get his reps.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I don't really care about his reps personally. I just don't care because this is not a developmental team. But what does Pablo Reyes do?
He bitches in blowouts.
What is I genuinely I'm going to read the chat right now. So mind you,
He doesn't
it's
hit
right there for the
lefties.
taking.
Remember? We looked that up. Oh, he's 281 against lefties for his career. He's horrendous this year against lefties.
Somebody in the chat, I'm reading any chat, explain to me what the angle, not what he does well, like what the good result is. Because I don't need someone to tell me like, oh, but if you take a closer look, he's good against righties, but they thought he was going to be good against lefties. No. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything.
He replaced Matzik is essentially what Ed is trying to say.
It's just barbaric. I haven't understood it. Golden Spation says Pablo Reyes needs to be sent to China. I don't care where they send him. Let him go play. By the way, how old is Pablo? If you don't mind me just reminding the room.
I think he's 31.
He's 31. He's my age.
He's 31.
He's my age, guys. This isn't some developmental asset that maybe Boone and the Yankees staff says, there's something here. We're going to develop something here. No, there is nothing. It doesn't exist. So, yeah, I mean, people are saying, oh, he's got blackmail. He's got this. We don't know what he's got. We don't. And we had the same conversation, by the way, about Aaron Hicks, where people are saying, well, what's the deal here? Like, what is the angle? And he's holding a spot for Stanton. What's he warming it? This spot, by the way, can be used for any other player that
Dom Smith
isn't going to play. Like Dom Smith, for example, you were mentioning what he was doing in the minors. He was hitting. And certainly he can take professional at-bats. But if I looked up to the Yankees and I was like, oh, now up, Dom Smith off the bench, I'd be pretty pissed. I don't want to see Dom Smith. But having said that, I know what Dom Smith does well. I know what he can do. He can hit right-handed pitching. He's done it at the big league level. Pablo Reyes has never done anything at a high level of the big leagues. Never. And then suddenly the Yankees are like, he can fill up this roster spot. It's not the move. It's just not.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying Dom Smith is like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but yeah, when you have a guy that like, I guess that's my issue is you have guys in the minors that are playing well and you don't bring them up, but you keep Pablo Reyes. I just think it sends kind of a weird message there when he's just abysmal. And I don't know. I mean, what is this savant pay? Oh dear God. He doesn't chase pitches. That's good.
He's what's his name from Benchwarmers, who just stands there and doesn't swing. He's like, I won't, because by the way, in order to have a low chase percentage, you also have to swing. So technically, if you hardly ever swing, your chase percentage will be high.
Yeah, he has a better batting average than he did last year, and a better OPS. That's
so his
about
expected batting average is 170. His expected pop is nothing. So essentially, he's swinging a pool noodle that's got a hole in it.
And no, this is the funniest part. He has a 192 batting average. So he's to top it off. They basically are saying he's lucky.
You're actually expected to be worse. You're horrible, but you're supposed to be way more horrible than this.
Oh man,
the dude is the Titan. What was it? The submersible, whatever they call it, submersible. He literally is the Titan Part 2.
Oh my God. I mean, what is all this? I guess he just doesn't. Well, no, his chase rate. Okay, that's somewhat decent.
Oh, there he was. And 2 years ago, he was good.
Well, I mean, if we're playing the 2 years ago game, then I'll just bring up Dominic Smith.
2 years ago, he was good. I mean, let's just bring Lady Gaga up to the stage. I mean, what are we talking about? There's nothing that he does in 2025. And
I'll
again, Dom Smith,
Ryan Braun's not great. MVP season.
Yeah, again, Dom Smith, you're like, hey, there it is in 2020.
And there's
but
gone.
By the way, was there any season that you located that Pablo Reyes did show what it is that the Yankees need?
No,
because I'm taking a look, by the way, at the bottom too at defense. I think that's also important. I want to see what's there because I would love to see it.
Yeah, he didn't have really anything. I mean, I think at one point he had a decent there that he could show you.
He was fast.
Well, I mean,
he was fast when he was.
He didn't.
When he was
he's never
25.
played enough to be qualified, so it's like we don't even know what he really is. This is just in a small sample size, so this doesn't even really matter. But this idea that he's some great fielder, well, he's not. There's nothing to support that. He had 3 errors in the first game of the year.
So what would you say? Because it wouldn't be our choice to have him on the roster. But when Aaron Boone puts him out there, do you think he's genuinely saying he's a platoon bat? Is that what we think the angle is?
Well, do you remember the initial plan? It was supposed to be he was going to platoon and play at third.
Do you remember why they made that decision?
He was going to actually play, and, well, he doesn't really play because he's not any good.
They made that decision because he hit lefties well in spring training.
Yeah. No. For his career, 281, to be fair. But he's been abysmal against lefties. That's a big reason why.
You mean righties?
No, lefties.
So he hits right-handed pitching, but he can't hit lefties?
Yeah, remember I brought this up the other day because you were curious about the splits, and we went over it, and
no,
it didn't
it
didn't even make any sense. You're like, wait, so this guy's 281 against lefties, but he's hitting in the hundreds? For his career, but he's hitting against lefties in the hundreds. He's comparing him to Pablo Picasso. That's hilarious.
This just feels like identity theft. Like he's just cosplaying as a Yankee. This isn't even close.
He has a 143 batting average against lefties, and against righties, he has a 250 batting average. And against righties, he has a 583 OPS, and against lefties, he has a 393 OPS. By the way, I don't think I've ever seen OPS go that low.
What is his OPS?
393 against lefties. He has a 143 slugging.
His slugging looks like a blood alcohol level. It's ridiculous. Not even playing ball. And again, Jake brought it up for you guys. He's not even a fielder. So this isn't like some situation where a plug and play defensively, guy goes down, throw him at second, it'll work out. No, he's actually a guy that can't field, and for some reason he can hit righties, but then when we try to use him, he doesn't hit righties. So maybe Boone is just saying, we don't know why it's so bad right now, but it'll just turn around at some point. And he's 31, so maybe he would just take off if they send him down. Out of options. Who knows?
Well, that would be such a shame to have Pablo Reyes. Can you imagine the comment section the day the Yankees announced that Pablo Reyes is being sent down or DFA'd or whatever? It's going to be a freaking
He's
party.
been Rule 5'd.
I mean,
he's a middle-aged man being Rule 5'd.
I genuinely feel bad for how much hate he gets, but it's also kind of justified because he's not good, and he's on this roster taking up a roster spot from guys like Everson Pereira, and we just talked about Dom Smith, and the guy who, what was it? They said he's not a prospect, Rodriguez, right? The guy who's hitting over 300.
Oh, Jesus Rodriguez. Yeah,
Jesus Rodriguez. Yeah, one of the guys, Baseball America, I forget what it was like, yeah, stop bringing him up. He's not a prospect.
Who,
I forget
Jesus
who it
Rodriguez?
Was it Buster Olney? I don't remember.
Well, how old is he?
23.
So he's 23 years old. He's performing. He's not a prospect?
That's how, and that's actually goes to my point about prospects, about scouting, about why I think that they get it wrong more often than not. Because they'll say he's not a prospect because, he doesn't have great stuff. Okay, well, he's still striking out tons of guys. He's missing bats in AAA, but you're not going to give him a chance in the MLB because you don't like his stuff. Well, look at the baseline that you've created. You've had guys that have come into, I mean, think about the pitchers that have been on this team. That's the baseline you've created. And then you tell me Jesus Rodriguez, who's hitting 325, has a above 300 average for his entire minor league career. And you're telling me he's not a prospect, but you have Pablo Reyes. It goes back to what I always say. When you set the baseline as low as Pablo Reyes, as low as Tyler Matzik, the way he was pitching, you don't have an argument. You got to at least give these guys a try. Also, let me remind people, Ivan Nova was not a top prospect at all. Did not have great stuff. But they gave him a shot randomly. He was not even their top pitching prospect. And he ended up working out for them in a sense because he didn't have crazy expectations, ends up carving out a role in the rotation, right? So I just feel like, yeah, they kind of overdo it. And I feel like it's almost like a competition of who can act like the smartest in the room type deal. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying
how can you look smart with trying to tell us you see something in Pablo Reyes? And by the way,
but you get
perhaps he's going to do something like 6 weeks from now, and they're going to say, "See, I told you he could do something."
God, please no.
Any baseball player, literally wearing cleats, can do something at some random point. There's a reason there isn't any player in the league hitting 0 because there are hits to be had for all these guys. So it doesn't justify his roster spot. So yeah, I'm glad you got him off the screen because I was just about to ask. And I'm going to get to this super from Apex because I definitely want to talk about Volpe at least a little bit because he did homer today.
Yeah.
Ball was crushed. Apex with the super. We really appreciate the 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Apex.
This is lowest in the lineup Volpe's been all season. So yeah, I think the Yankees are figuring out what Volpe is. Anthony Volpe's a guy who can slug. He can run somewhat. I mean, he's not a speed demon. And the analytics actually surprised us. He's not as fast as we thought, but he can run. And the days of us thinking that Volpe is some top of the lineup guy because he's a top prospect, that's forced. Let's stop that. The ops will be there. Again, like I said, he slugs at the shortstop position. He's an above average defender. The arm's not great, but he accommodates for that. So Volpe's a good player. He is. But is he as good as we would have liked him to be? Maybe not. But yeah, I think the Yankees putting him at this spot in the lineup, I think you said he was 7th, Jake.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Anthony Volpe, at least right now, unless he shows us something wildly different over the long term, this is who he is. But I'm going to leave this for you, Jake. I said the exact same thing about Carlos Rodon. I said he can give us a great start, 2 great starts, but who are you in that 3rd start? And I don't get any level of consistency. So having said that, I'm not pleased with what I'm getting. Anthony Volpe's the same way. You can watch him for a weekend in a big series. We saw it last October. He gives you great at-bats. He puts balls in the seats. He fields his position. Great. But who is he next week? And it just seems to change and fluctuate. So I'm glad that Boone has at least recognized. Let's stop forcing this. Let's put him at 7th. Let's hide him in this lineup. We're scoring runs just fine. If Volpe makes a contribution offensively, let him do that at the bottom.
So here's a funny thing. He's tied for the most home runs at batting 7th for all of the order, right? Mm-hmm. He has 8 home runs batting 7th. He has 8 home runs batting leadoff. Now, mind you, he had 106 games leading off. He's had 59 batting 7th for his career. Batting 7th, he hits 244, and he has a 748 OPS. Leading off, he hits 229, and he has a 643 OPS. How about batting 5th? 197, a 684 OPS. Batting 6th, 223 average with a 625 OPS. So his best averages are batting 7th at 244 and batting 8th at 257. You need to take the pressure.
We don't pay attention to him.
You need to take the pressure off him, which makes a lot of sense because then you can have him kind of on the wraparound. Now you got that speed on the base paths, right? So now you bring him up, and now I think 7th, 8th. I mean, that's where I would have him. I think maybe not 9th because, I mean, that's almost like a second leadoff hitter, and he also isn't good 9th, 221, 675. But yeah, he slashes decently well in 7th and 8th for his career. I found that kind of interesting there. But yeah, he's clearly just not a leadoff hitter.
Ninth doesn't feel like hiding someone, by the way, because I actually I'm glad you brought up what he does in 9th. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, every time, and regardless if it's Volpe, it doesn't matter which name you see hitting 9th, doesn't it feel like, okay, we're starting to get close to the top of the lineup, so pitchers start to really get on their stuff. You don't want to be facing the 1, 2, 3 with guys on base. I think that's the way it's perceived. You don't see it that way with the 7 hitter. The 7 hitter just seems like the guy that's just kind of floating. He's just kind of out there. He's just a random at bat in the game. You're not really thinking about it. Let me get ahead here. Let me flip him a breaking ball. You flip him a breaking ball, it hangs. Oh, he hit a home run. Okay, great. You weren't worried about the 8 hitter behind him. You're not really thinking about it. That's where Volpe should be. But once you put him in the 9 spot, it really cements you as like almost I'm the worst player on the team. People view it that way. You're hitting 9th. It's like very humbling
look at it
position.
As the second leadoff hitter.
You view it that way? Yeah, I don't view it that way.
Yeah, I do. It's almost like, like if you're hitting 8th, it's the worst on the team. Normally, it's like strategically, you place the 8th guy because he's better than the 9th guy. Well, wrong. You place the 9th guy last because he's better than the 8th guy. But you like the 9th guy normally you want to have him have speed, right? That's normally the case. So, for instance, Escara, Volpe, and who else am I thinking of today? LeMahieu. Typically speaking, I'd probably want Volpe 9th for the speed. Escara runs pretty well too, so I would probably consider him. I'd probably have LeMahieu 7th or 8th. But
yeah, which is ironic because Volpe does not hit in the 9th spot.
I know. He only hits 7th, 8th, and he does have 1,000 OPS in the 3rd and 4th hole, but that I don't want to see that. So
yeah, I imagine the sample size is pretty small there. But
yeah, two games, 10 at bats.
And I get there are a lot of people though that are going to look at this and be like, "This is a bust. This is terrible." Well, yeah, as far as expectations go, this is not what Volpe was supposed to do. And then obviously you have a ton of nerds on X who are like, "He's got a weighted runs created." Are you watching the same player I'm watching? Like, get serious.
I love that you said that.
I love
that you said that.
The pop's
He's got a weighted runs created.
He's got a weighted runs created, and his whippa dippa is this. Yeah.
What about his bacon?
Yes. Bacon. Yes. We understand that. But a lot of those shortstops that you're comparing him to, they're also taking at bats in the 2-hole. They're taking at bats with runners in scoring position. It's a huge difference. So Anthony Volpe, as I've said a million times, he's good. He is. He's good. As much as people want me to say he sucks, he doesn't. He doesn't suck. But as far as if you're going to compare him to what we thought he was going to be when the Yankees said, no, Luis Castillo, we don't need that player. Francisco Lindor, he's available from Cleveland. And people were like, they wouldn't trade him to the Yankees. Yes, they would have. Yes, they would have. But the Yankees said, we're not even going to go call on that because we've got these players that we really like. And whoever that player was. And you come to find out the Yankees didn't have an option. They looked anything like Lindor. So, unfortunate, but at least Anthony Volpe is productive. He definitely is productive. And Virtual says, I think I agree with Jake. We had Edman batting 9th last year because he was really good at turning it over to the top of the lineup. I would agree with that. There's a lot of importance in general to not ending the inning. And for the Dodgers' point of view, when you've got Ohtani leading off, and that's a huge help as well, in the way that lineups are constructed today, like for us, we have Trent Grisham leading off many times. He'll just lead off a game. Well, if the 9-hitter gets on base, that's a weapon now. So I would agree with you, but at the same time, I just put Volpe in the lineup where he can hide the best, and it seems like, according to the numbers, Well, I guess you said 3 and 4 he hides well, but we'll go with 7th.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And by the way, Jazz Chisholm batting 6th is hitting 841 for his OPS and 843 cleanup. I noticed something with Jazz too with his splits. He's a much better hitter when he plays third base. Like, this is silly.
Do you think he sees himself as?
I think he sees himself.
I have no reason to possibly.
Well, I mean, why do you think he chose 13? He chose it to honor A-Rod. That's what he said. A-Rod played third. Now, magically, Jazz Chisholm for his career playing third. This is a pretty large sample size. We're talking about, 45 games here. It's not like it's nothing. 817 OPS. So,
I mean, to be fair, he's been playing second base all this year.
Mm-hmm.
He was horrible offensively. Still slugging, which is good. You got to do something well, and he was doing that well.
Yeah.
And then it just so happens this year he's playing second base. So then they just moved him to third, and then the first game he gets moved to third base, he hits a homer. So I don't know.
Yeah, he 2-hit game. Yeah. That, I don't know. I think in conclusion, because we're going to get into Profit X and preview tomorrow's game. In conclusion, I feel good about where Jazz is at. Got to keep putting together these at-bats, but look good today. I feel good right now about LeMahieu. He's got to keep this up. He's got to stay in the lineup. I know it's funny. I keep telling Boone to keep LeMahieu in the lineup. I'm like, wait, this is the inverse of last year. But he was taking him out and putting like B-Boss in, and Pablo Reyes even played over him one day, and I was like, what are we doing? Keep DJ in when he's hitting like this, right? So I want to see these guys continue. As far as the closer spot, I don't really know what to make of it right now. I think Fernando Cruz probably gets his opportunity tomorrow. I don't think this is Williams' job. I don't. Like, I think that they are going to basically give him the first crack, but you can't tell me Aaron Boone looked at that 30-pitch outing and was like, yeah, I'm going to trot him out tomorrow, and, because he's our guy. There's no way.
I don't know. He does. He shows up to the press conference, and he will say, oh, well, I mean, he had some good stuff. They fouled off some tough pitches.
Yeah, but that's a gamesmanship.
It is, but at the same time last year with Clay Holmes, at one point he's like, the closer's role is by committee. We're going matchups. You remember that? Matchups. Matchups is the most important. So I would agree with you. I hope it's matchup related and not a Devin Williams. Oh, we're up 3-1 in the ninth. Hey, Devin, we need you here. Like, that's not him. Not with what the numbers that we read on this show. And it's not like we came out with quantum physics. It wasn't anything crazy. We essentially uncovered he's not around the strike zone. He's not missing bats the way that we want him to in the part of the actual count that matters. And it's just not comfortable. So, yeah, honestly, I think Devin Williams is kind of like It's a Small World at Disneyland. Like, it's cool in the middle of your day. But at the end?
No, Devin Williams is like, well, now I don't know if I don't even think that it's at any of the parks now, but I would say Splash Mountain. If it is a cold day, I'm not going on Splash Mountain. Not doing it.
Yeah, didn't you tell me though that Devin Williams was going to pitch well and by the way, I agreed with this premise when it was cold out. You remember that? It's freezing and everyone's like, "Well, it's because this guy can't pitch in the cold." It's easier to pitch in the cold. By the way, our broadcast has talked about it plenty of times. So I hope that's like really sunken in. It is much easier to pitch when it's freezing, much harder to hit. And then everyone tells us, oh, guys like Giancarlo, the bats, and Judge, the bats are going to warm up as it warms up. So, I don't know, guys. When we start looking at mid to late June in New York, it's going to heat up. And we need Devin Williams to just morph into something else. We need Matt Blake to morph this into a different approach. We're not sure how it changes. We're not the pitching coaches. We just watch, and then we turn on a mic. And then Scott Ross, we're going to get to this super
Appreciate you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, for that. We really appreciate that. Before we get to the Profit X picks, Scott Ross with a 5, thank you, says, Am I crazy for thinking JC, obviously mentioning Escara's approach, is better than Austin Wells? I know for a fact my mom agrees with this. He's more prepared and doesn't seem to just be hacking. First and foremost, he has a much better swing. He actually probably has one of the best swings on the team, I will add. And I know we probably weren't anticipating talking about this. Like, to see a swing like this, an Uber driver was just driving around and he had a baseball swing like this. Pretty incredible. But
he brought up the Uber driver.
I did, and I hated the talking point. But now that we're potting,
you're gonna be
I like
slapping your own wrist now.
I know, but JC's approach is much better. We talked about this actually like a week and a half ago or so. The Yankees view JC as he will work it out today. It can work today. He's a clean option. It can work. But Austin Wells is the 25, 26-year-old kid that we're trying to develop into this catcher that we can have for the foreseeable future. At that position, by the way, Jake, I don't like the idea of developing a catcher. I don't, for me personally, because if you look around baseball, how many catchers out there are there in this league where you're like, I saw his development in 2017 and what that team was trying to do, and he's still there in 2026. I don't see a ton of them. So I don't really love it. I probably would take the guess, and I don't want to speak for Scott here. Scott probably wants to see more of JC and less of Austin Wells. Jake, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not surprised his approach is better. He's 4 years older after all. So he is 4 years older. But it's interesting what you say because, the first name that came to mind is a guy that was connected to the Yankees a ton, was JT Realmuto. And he was not developed by the Phillies. I believe he started with the Marlins, I think, and then he went to the Nats. Correct. Right? Did he go to the Nationals? Or
I don't remember him going to the Nationals. I could be wrong. I remember him being a Marlin and then going to Philadelphia.
Yeah, but what you're saying, though, there's some truth there. I mean, I'm watching Adley Rutschman and just sitting there thinking, I don't think he's going to end up retiring an Oriole. I just don't.
But will he? How long would you anticipate that a catcher that you develop at 25, mind you, this game that you see today is not the game that we grew up watching. It's not a game where you'll see a Posada and then 14 years later,
Joe Mauer, Buster Posey,
Yadier Molina. You don't see those guys anymore. They don't exist.
It's true.
So why are you worrying about development? And by the way, Austin Wells isn't just this development piece. He's also framing better than any player in the sport. But JC's framing well also. He is.
Neither
He's
are throwing guys out.
Neither. And to give full context, Austin Wells made a nice throw to third base, and that's the catch. The other day, it's to third base.
Yes.
He's not throwing anybody out at second base nearly as often as we'd like. So I guess the point is, Austin Wells, the difference between his bat and JC Escara and what can be developed there isn't good enough where it should just be a pencil in. I think JC is taking on quality enough of at-bats where he should probably be playing a little bit more.
I agree. I mean, well, think about this. This is how you need to look at it. JC Escara is he's a little bit younger than Jose Trevino, which sounds hilarious to say. But I wish I didn't say that.
I'm glad you did.
He's a little bit younger.
Screw it.
But, think about last year, right? Jose Trevino wasn't even playing as well as Escara is right now. And you knew, you think Austin Wells and Escara can't throw guys out? Jose Trevino against the Red Sox was a horror show. There's 8 straight stolen bases against him. So it just seems weird how they always tried to make that like a timeshare. Because keep in mind, the only time Austin Wells took over was when Trevino got hurt. Because they called up Narvaez, who is, of course,
and JC
I believe,
is also not a timeshare right now. It's not a 50-50 thing.
No, it's
Austin Wells
we'll play here and there.
Yeah, and then it kind of goes to show you, though, when you only play so often, and then obviously you have people leaving Super Chat saying, I love his approach. You play twice a week, once a week, and that's the approach you notice on screen. We're watching the same game you are. That's a great thing. So, is JC Escara, is he an all-star? No. but is he taking better at bats than Austin Wells? Yeah, it's not even close. It's not.
He's one of my mom's favorite players.
Is he really?
She loves JC Escaro. Absolutely loves him. She, look, the swing is nice. I'm sure she likes the story, but yeah, she's a big fan of him. She likes the swing.
What number is he, by the way?
Oh, God. Why would you bring that up? I don't know.
Well, I knew you wouldn't know, but obviously someone in our chat will know.
Yeah.
I'd
she
love
loves
to
Jazz,
get you a jersey,
too, by the way. She was very, very happy about that. 25. He's
That's
Jose
a good
Trevino.
number. 25 is
Oh, wait,
a good
no.
number.
That was Glaber. He wears Glaber's number. What was Trevino? 28? I don't remember. I don't know. There's some player, like, I know 99. That's about it. No, obviously I know, like, 35 and Goldschmidt's 48.
Yeah, but he is the number. He is 25. So
Yes.
that's a good number. That is a good number, but
Trevino
he was
39. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember that. Yeah, she loves Jazz. She loves JC. She loves Judge. She calls Goldschmidt Gold Swift.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jake in the chat says Trevi was 38. Yeah, I believe it was 39. 38, I think, was Scott Proctor.
No, Scott Proctor
he
was
36?
43.
Scott Proctor was 43.
How do you get that wrong?
I don't know. I talk
I
about
thought
him a
you were
lot.
part of the diehard Scott Proctor club.
I am diehard. I have a signed ball from Scott Proctor here somewhere.
We need
I
to
don't know
get him
where
on
it's at.
sometime. We'll be like, why you guys call me up? Be like, oh, we
Yeah.
just really love you.
He'd be like, I haven't been asked to be on a podcast in 12 years. Welcome aboard.
Yeah. No, who is 38 isn't 38 Devin Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't remember.
I
who
mean,
38
his
was
number
before
should be 70. He should be an offensive lineman's number by the end of the season if he keeps pitching this way. His ERA. What's his ERA, by the way? I know it's got to be bad. And it can't feel good to look up at the Jumbotron
that. By the way,
and see that.
I got the worst 635. Yeah, not the most ideal. I got the ugliest number for you real quick, and then we'll get into Profit X.
Okay.
Do you remember Matt Lawton?
Matt Lawton?
He wore 60. And I don't even think there is a picture. I don't even think there's a picture of him in the uniform. But yes, Matt Lawton.
But he pitched for us?
No, he was an outfielder. They got him at a trade deadline move. He wore 60.
He played for the Yankees, and you can't find a picture of him?
You can't find a picture of him in 60.
So he's Yankees Bigfoot.
Like, all I see is the Getty Images thing, like the really bad pictures. Like, you can't even see. Not that Getty Images is bad, but yeah, you can't even.
It is bad when you're trying to use a thumbnail.
That's true. Oh God, don't even get me started.
It's like the worst program ever.
I'm trying to find it. It was the worst looking number I think I've ever seen in pinstripes. 60 does not look good. If anyone remembers Matt Lawton, drop in the comment section right now. That just was insane. Actually, let's see. Baseball Reference. Oh no, he wore 50. Yeah, that was still ugly too. Yeah. They got Matt Lawton at the deadline, and that was considered like a cool move or whatever. And what did he do for the Yankees? He was a rental. He was horrendous. He hit 125.
Nick
him.
Wants to know, I love this. He says, did you guys see what Big Papi said? He said, leave Rafael Devers alone. He's a great DH. Can you imagine paying all that money for a DH on a team that can't get outs?
Yeah, that's wild. Can you believe the Yankees when they got Lawton? They got him when he was hitting. He had a 813 OPS and then hit 125 with the Yankees.
The lights were too bright.
That is a sign. To be fair, it was at the end of his career. I think he played one more year. That is the sign right there, a reminder that wanting a bat at the deadline, you're not just guaranteed to have a bat. I mean, he'll have a bat in hand.
Yeah, he has a bat in his dugout. He has a bat in the dugout with his name on it, but he won't use it.
Good Lord, that has to be one of the worst deadline acquisitions ever. He played 21 games and hit 125.
And Occupy New Paradigm. I lost in a 5th grade spelling bee. They asked me to spell paradigm. I had no idea.
Oh,
but
damn.
He says, I'm subscribed, but I never see your stream in my subs. YouTube, by subscribing, won't do anything. Occasionally it will, but you do have to hit that bell to be notified. Yes. And I think, Jake, you mentioned that iPhones don't get the notification unless you enable it. So
yeah, you have to enable notifications on your phone. It's a process. It's in settings, and you go to notifications, and then you scroll down, you find YouTube, and it'll put like allow all notifications. Just do that.
Yeah. So there's your answer.
It's so annoying.
Don't rely on YouTube. We go live within an hour after the final pitch, after every game, win or lose, worst games of all time. If one of us can't make it, one of us is going by ourselves. Bingo. And it's just how we do this show. So, yeah, no one can ever call us front runners. That's one thing I do know.
Yeah.
And let's get to these Profit X picks. Because otherwise we'll never do it.
So shout out to Profit X, of course, for being our partners here. You can use code YANKSU when you sign up. The link is in the description below. Gary, I'm taking the Yankees. I think they're going to win 2 out of 3 in this series at the very least, and I took them to win this game. I like Clark Schmidt on the hill against Luis Ortiz. Ortiz is a guy that does strike out more than an inning, so that's something. But he gives up the long ball. He gives up hits. He walks batters. 30 walks this year. So I've been really encouraged by a lot more of the pitches that Yankees hitters have been, watching. And this is a guy that's a 1.43 whip. Clark Schmidt, on the other hand, he has a 3.95 ERA, a 1.27 whip. He does give up the long ball, only 10 fewer walks, 20 fewer hits, and he does strike out about, a batter an inning. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at here. I got the Yankees money line. It's not the most profitable, but I'm not picking the run line because I picked the run line today, and of course they couldn't cover that. It ended up being a 1-run game.
Who's pitching for us in Game 3, if you don't mind me asking?
Certainly. So Game 3, who is it? Max?
Wouldn't be Fried, right?
Fried.
Is it Max Fried?
It is Max Fried. All right, they're sweeping them. Damn.
Okay, because I think I had us taking 2 of 3 as well. I had us losing in Game 2, and I hate to say that the day before the outing.
Okay, maybe
but
don't
Clark,
go with the money line.
You could do it. I mean, we're Yankees fans. We're not going to pick the other team. That's one thing we just don't do. But I had us taking 2 of 3, and then I had us sweeping Boston. So
I definitely had them sweeping Boston. I think they're going to end up sweeping the Guardians now. I do, because I didn't even realize Fried was pitching the third game.
In theory, if we win tomorrow, we should sweep. Max Fried, rebound start. It's not against the Dodgers. That does help. So, yeah, we should absolutely be rooting for. This is the game you have to win if you want to go out there and go for the whole thing, because Game 1 should have been a win. Like, we should have won today. That made a lot of sense. It was probably uglier than we'd like to imagine. I'm going to go ahead and just take the money. Just take it.
Okay.
Go ahead and click that thing. We're going for the sweep.
And I'm going to go with the under on the 1 through 5 innings again. I love that. I really do, because the way the Yankees play their style of baseball, most of the time this is hitting. But I do think they could get after Ortiz, but I'm gonna stick with my gut here and go with the 5.5. I'm gonna go with the under on 5.5. As far as strikeouts, Clark Schmidt over 5.5. I think Schmidt's capable. I mean, I know he is.
Is Jason Dominguez? I know they were talking about the injury update that he was feeling much better every day. Like, that was the word choice. I'm going to go ahead and deliver that news to you. The word choice was every day he's feeling much better than the day before. So, having said that, is there any chance we see Dominguez tomorrow? Because if we do, I have a decent feeling that we don't see Ben Rice. Just my feeling on tomorrow. We're facing a right-handed pitcher, so it shouldn't be the case.
No, Ben Rice will be in the line. I think they give Jason Dominguez some time, and he needs it because that's an injury, the contusion, that could go on for a bit. You don't want to rush him back. I don't think we see him for a week or two.
Isn't it crazy how the game has changed? Like, because now guys played with contusions and just bumps and bruises and
like, you're not going to swing the bat effectively. So I totally understand why he wouldn't play.
That's crazy. It's honestly crazy that that's like our perspective. And by the way, the league front offices agree with you as well. They don't play through injuries. Most players, like, we've seen players play through injury before. Like, we saw DJ LeMahieu do it in a way that just wasn't well. He didn't do it good. So then people say, well, do you want a guy playing hurt, especially if he's not playing well? We use that as an excuse. But there are also a lot of players that have played when they're not 100%. Like, in the history of this game, there are a lot of good players, especially in the 90s, the early 2000s. Guys were banged up all the time. You saw guys play. Like, you think Cal Ripken Jr. felt good every day with that streak? No, absolutely not. So, am I saying that Jason Dominguez with a contusion should play tomorrow? I'm not saying that. But if he's almost 100%, honestly, I just say play the guy. I don't think you can just look at every player and say, well, we're taking on some risk, like some at all, by playing him. He's not 100%, so we're not going to play him. Well, then guys are going to be sitting all the time if that's the mentality. So I want there to be a middle ground there. Obviously, I have no idea where it's at, but hopefully Ben Rice is in the lineup tomorrow. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be right. I mean, we'll see, right? But, yeah, looking at Ortiz, by the way, and we'll do it after Profit X, but let's do total bases here.
Okay.
I am going to go with Jazz. I think Jazz is, like I said, I think he's about to go on a run, so I'm going to say he gets at least a double. So I'm going to go with Jazz Chisholm. And I like Ben Rice because he's hitting the ball really hard, and this is a guy that throws, 95, 96. I like the way Rice hit, was swinging the bat, and as long as you keep him in the lineup, it does eventually. It's going to point to him doing some stuff. So that's what I have. Wouldn't be surprised if Austin Wells got in on the party, but I think Jazz and Ben Rice is where I'm going to go.
Okay. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt's have great numbers against Ortiz. So I hope I see, and you're talking about seeing Goldschmidt at first base. Again, a repeat of what we saw, which is sort of what we wanted to see, more consistency. Okay, he DHs. He plays first base. Ben Rice should be our DH tomorrow. I think that's the main takeaway. I'm taking Paul Goldschmidt over 1.5 bases. Would love that pick. That's my final pick. Honestly, I only have one. So Yankees win. Well, actually two. Yankees win. Didn't have us winning this game to start the series, but the answer for the Yankees tomorrow is going to be whether or not Clark, it's not going to be if he can miss bats. He can do that. He's got 42 Ks on the season. It's about whether or not he can be economical with his pitch count. Is he going to be nibbling in the third or fourth inning and just mess around and give you a 31 pitch outing? You may prevent runs and hold the damage to 1 and keep the Yankees lineup in the game. But if we've got to turn around, we don't have Cruz, right? Williams just worked hard today. The Yankees don't have Weaver's hurt. The Yankees don't have a ton of options at the back end of this bullpen tomorrow. So Clark does have to get some outs tomorrow. It's not just about run prevention. It's the only way we're winning tomorrow.
It is interesting, by the way. I said that Ben Rice has been hitting the ball hard, and this guy throws 96, but look at the hard hit percentage. He does not give up a lot of hard contact. So, tomorrow will be interesting. I mean, Ortiz is a guy I thought last year he looked pretty good. This year he's not gotten off to a great start, and the walks. That's the thing. I really think the walks are going to be key. The Yankees got to be disciplined. He really struggles to locate. If they're disciplined and he struggles to locate, this could be like, what's that one pitcher that we were making fun of? Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah,
Sterling
the dude who
Hitchcock
signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. I don't even know.
Yeah, you can, and this is baseball. Just because you see these type of numbers, don't be fooled. Any pitcher in this game,
oh, of course,
can just shut you down. You let them get it going. They get some confidence. They're at Yankee Stadium. They're pumped up for this game. Their family may be in the crowd. They flew into New York. They went to Mastros, whatever it is. Great. You've got to look at this Savant page, locate a weakness, say, okay, control is a weakness. He's not going to give up a ton of hard contact. We need to make sure we fill the bases. When we get our hits, guys need to be on base.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And the Yankees, by the way, the last about week and a half, haven't been necessarily doing a ton of damage with runners in scoring position. That needs to be better tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing this challenge. And by the way, we missed this super.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't normally do that.
We weren't going to leave without you. Do you think LeMahieu, but of course, shout out to Jordan, appreciate you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Think LeMahieu should be at third and Jazz at second? I think Jazz has a stronger arm for our double play chances and can cover more range. That's an interesting way to look at it. I personally like the stronger arm at third because, for instance, that play today that Goldschmidt scooped, that was a hell of a play by Jazz. I don't think LeMahieu has a chance in hell of throwing that guy out. I don't. So
okay, my perspective
think you're missing
on this,
that.
Yeah, there's no matter which way you slice it, there are going to be. DJ LeMahieu literally fell over himself on a ground ball to the glove side today. It was horrible. It looked like one of those like Brookstone commercials.
Why was that
where they're
not
like,
an error?
You're going to trip over this hose, so get one that's like can't tangle. It looked like that. And no matter where you put Jazz at third base, you can say balls are hit harder to third. You don't need as much range. It's more glove work. It's more speed on balls in front of you. Then all of a sudden you say, well, we put DJ over there. There's a bunt. And you're like, oh, he couldn't come in and get that ball, right? Now you move Jazz over to second base and say maybe there's going to be more ground balls hit to second base. And then all of a sudden a scorching line drive is hit to, right, LeMahieu at third base, and then he doesn't make a play. So no matter where you put DJ, we're going to complain about something defensively of what he's doing, which kind of goes back to the point. Jazz is a solution, no matter if he plays second base or third base. Take your pick as to where you want him to be a solution. Which position do you find to be most important? And I will say, I personally think second base is a more important position. I just do. I don't think the reactionary position of third base is as difficult to play as second base. When we're turning double plays, you're the guy who touches the ball last more times than not. I want to see someone strong arm over there. I want to see a guy at second base, balls up the middle, balls in the hole. I need you to show range. And more times than not, range is displayed at second base or shortstop more than third. So, yeah, I like the question. I'm not here to say I have a perfect answer, but my answer is that I think Jazz Chisholm is best served at second base, his home position. It's the reason he played there coming out of the minor leagues. And the Yankees just need a better option at third base so we don't have to plug him over there.
I like the rationale. I will say this. They can go either way. Because if they want to go, say they go Brandon Lau. They go with IKF, who can play second or third. They go with Urias at second. That allows Jazz to stay at third. But if they want to go after, say, Moncada, like we've been talking about, who I don't need to see the analytics. I've watched. My eyes tell me he's a good fielder. Like, he's underrated. I don't know why he gets such a bad rap. He's got a strong arm, good reactionary skills. Jazz could play second. So, and there are other guys as well. That's just an example. I really think moving Jazz to third is as simple as just keeping the options open. So now you're keeping him fresh at third when you already know he plays a damn good second base. You're keeping him fresh at a position he didn't have a lot of experience at.
So you're saying this isn't a marriage. This is just...
Correct.
We'll use this. It's working. He clearly... You love the skill set from Jazz Chisholm. You love it. But This is keeping our options open. Don't tell us, we're the Yankees. Don't tell us that we need a third baseman. Jazz is a third baseman. And then all of a sudden, if Brian Cashman says, I don't like the options at second or what they're asking for, I like this option over at third base, Jazz Chisholm can go back to his home position. He doesn't need to work on that. Just toss him back over there. Trade for whatever third baseman. If we get Moncada, Jake, you're actually really starting to talk me into this Moncada deal.
I like him, dude.
And you throw him over at third base. Is it an adjustment for Jazz to move from third to second base? No, it's not. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. Shouldn't be a problem. Jason, love this information. Thank you for throwing this up in the chat. We really appreciate you guys getting involved. And by the way, guys, make sure you like and subscribe. It says Moncada is on the 10-day IL with knee inflammation. So, luckily, the trade deadline's not 10 days away. But him being away isn't going to help the Angels win any baseball games. So, makes them more likely to make a deal. Yeah, we really appreciate that, Jason.
Well, I got to be honest here. As much as I like Moncada when he plays, this is another issue. You know, he has had durability concerns in the past. So if he's on the IL again, Gary, I'm getting close to saying no on him, actually, because I'm not trying to trade prospects. And again, understand when I say this, I'm not talking about that I don't want to move them. I'm saying I'm spending this money on this when this isn't going to benefit me because this whatever is out of commission. So I can't spend it on this because now I don't have that money, right? Can't afford this anymore because I gave it over for that. See what I'm saying?
Well, the Yankees make that excuse all the time. They're like, well, we've got Brett Gardner, so we can't go get Bryce Harper. We have Giancarlo Stanton, so we can't get Bryce Harper.
Though. I'm talking about
that's the excuse they made.
No, but I'm talking about the monetary value of prospects. And
well, the Yankees also trade. They'll be like, I don't want to get rid of that prospect. And then what happens 2 years later, Jake? They lose him in the Rule 5 because they never traded him, actually.
Oh, I know. Well, I think that's actually what happened with Narvaez. I think he was Rule 5 eligible, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that true?
I think that's why they traded him away.
Interesting. No, you might be right.
They clearly just like JC more. And
right.
Which actually kind of makes sense because if you think about it, the timeline makes sense. JC's 30. You know, if Austin Wells is tabbed as your guy and he's 25, 26, I get it. But, yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for killing my dreams about Moncada. Really appreciate it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that IL chat was just devastating. And mind you, it's knee inflammation. It's not
I died a little bit inside.
The worst
I'm not even gonna
thing
lie.
you've ever seen, but you'd like to believe before you go get a player. Like, people complain about the Yankees. Why did we ever trade for Giancarlo? During the regular season, he's just not available. He's always hurt. Well, that wasn't a problem when we traded for him. But when you trade for a player like Jazz, you trade for a player like Moncada, don't complain when they're not available consistently because they didn't show that aspect. Benintendi. They never showed that aspect. So, last thing I'll say, be aware of the player you're bringing in, of his flaws, and don't complain about it when he brings it to the Bronx. So be careful.
Yes, be careful indeed. I think that's it. Yeah, what did we want to give for the comment to drop?
I've got one. Drop in the comment section your favorite catcher before the year 2000. And I'm sorry if you're too young to do this. That I'm very sorry. That's why there's Google, there's AI, there's all types of tools to help you. And certainly, especially baseball fans, they care about history, baseball history more than probably any other group in any sport. But tell me your favorite catcher who played his final year before the year 2000.
I already know mine.
I shouldn't say final year. I should say played in any year before the year 2000.
Can you guess mine?
Benito Santiago?
No. That was the most random guess ever.
Yeah. He's probably one of my favorite. He's
probably
you know who
one my favorite is?
I mean, is it the obvious one? Is it Johnny Bench?
No, it's Thurman Munson. It's
a pretty safe answer on a Yankee show, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched a documentary on him. I think it was Yankeeography, and just really loved his story. Obviously hate the way, he passed away and how it ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I like the fire he played with. Like, I watched some of those old games that you could find on YouTube, and yeah, he would be my favorite catcher. So that's who that would be. But
yeah, so drop those catchers in there. Anything else, Jake?
That's all I got. I was looking for the relievers. Remember that question we asked the other day? I was going to read some of the top comments, but we got like tons of comments, and they're not all about relievers. Quick, I see Bednar. I see Freddie Peralta. I see Yamamoto. Come on now. Mason Miller. One can dream. And Felix Bautista from Jordan, who was our last super chat. And yeah, that was a quick skim, but I couldn't really. Yeah, there's a lot here. So, all right, yeah, drop the catcher before 2000. If you aren't eligible to do that, just name any catcher, I guess. But
use Grok or AI. You guys get it figured out. And of course, like this video.